Hi everyone. So my name is Trinity Wentz, and today I'm going to be kind of looking into one of what I think is the most strangest, but also really interesting conspiracy theories I've ever heard of. And it's called birds aren't real. Well, it might sound ridiculous to you too, but that's kind of what makes it so interesting, really. It started as a joke, but it actually reveals how and why people decide to believe in conspiracy theories. Because I know when I was looking into it, I was starting to get persuaded. There are things that make it make sense. So, yeah. So, what is birds aren't real? Okay, this movement began in 2017, so a while ago, right? And this was when there wasn't that much, as much, I guess, digital information being circulated around. So, Peter Mcindoe created it as that satire to mock conspiracy culture. The claim? Well, that all birds were replaced by drones used to spy on citizens, of course. Makes sense, right? Ironically, despite its absurdity, some people started believing it. And that's what makes it such a perfect case study for understanding how misinformation and psychology really interact. So, why are conspiracy theories so compelling? Well, conspiracy theories appeal because they make the world seem more understandable. Like I said, with the misinformation that's going around today, it's really easy for some people to just pick a side, pick something that kind of makes sense and run with it because it makes everything else, the bigger picture, make more sense to them. So when events feel chaotic or confusing, these narratives simplify things for them. There's a villain, there's a secret, and there's a hidden truth, right? So they also feed the human desire to control and belonging, right? So believing in something others don't see actually gives people a sense of identity and community and even a sense of being part of like an enlightened few in the context that they feel like it's powerful to know something or to believe something that majority of others don't, right? So then we have that psychology of belief that plays into that. At the core, belief in conspiracy theories is driven by how our brains are wired, right? Like we're natural human beings. We're always trying to make sense of things, okay? So when we connect dots that maybe no connection exists to, we're still connecting those dots to give ourselves a sense of that understanding. So you add in confirmation bias, which makes us seek out information that supports what we already believe, like I was doing when I was researching this conspiracy, and proportionality bias, which convinces us that major events must have equally major causes, and you have the perfect psychological storm for belief in conspiracies. So, why do they thrive today? Well, kind of a combination of everything that I've already mentioned, but they more so thrive because we live in such a digital world. Social media algorithms reward emotionally charged content and not actual accuracy of this content. People end up in echoing caves where misinformation feels validated by that repetition of the echo, right? So when you go on social media and you see things that are similar to your beliefs and similar to your emotions and everything, you're gonna believe in it more. You're gonna create that connection to it, right? So combine that with that widespread trust and or mistrust in government and media, because as we know, lots of people are having a difficult time believing in what the government says these days, and then conspiracies are going to flourish. They're going to really just soar through the air like a bird. And then we have some characteristics of believers. Okay, so people who are drawn to conspiracies often share certain traits. Okay, many feel powerless, distrustful of authority, or they feel alienated from mainstream society. Okay, and then others crave that sense of uniqueness. So that idea of seeing truths that others can't, right? Because it does feel powerful to feel like you know something that others don't, right? So, research also suggests that emotional maturity, or the lack thereof, could influence that susceptibility to conspiracy theories. A study published in the European Journal of Social Psychology found a negative correlation between emotional intelligence and that belief in conspiracy theories. Essentially, individuals with higher emotional intelligence, which is a key component of emotional maturity, were less likely to believe in such theories. And this could be because emotionally mature individuals are better at handling that ambiguity, that uncertainty, which reduces the appeal of conspiracy theories that offer those more simplistic explanations for the complex issues. But these characteristics don't mean that someone is crazy. They just reflect the emotional needs that conspiracies temporarily fulfill. And then we have the emotional and social factors. So, emotionally, conspiracy communities provide comfort because people find belonging in groups that see the truth, like I mentioned earlier, right? And this emotional connection makes those conspiracies resilient. They meet those psychological needs more than factual ones. They create that sense of shared identity, and this reduces anxiety, especially in complicated systems like government. And then addressing and debunking conspiracies. Okay, so for the birds aren't real conspiracy, it's one of those things where it's either you believe in it or you don't, because there's not, like, we can say that it's crazy to believe that a bird is a government spy, but really, how are we supposed to prove that wrong, right? Okay, so debunking these conspiracies is delicate in that way. Ridiculing believers only deepens their desire to argue what they believe to be true. Instead, we need to foster that empathy and that discussion, and make sure we ask questions and don't make accusations like, "Oh, that's dumb," right? Like, "Why do you believe that? Like, do you have any facts to back you up?" Because they're just going to come at you with whatever they believe to be true, right? So, teaching media literacy, critical thinking, and fact-checking skills can actually empower people to question sources that are proclaiming these conspiracies to be true. Most importantly, we really just want to rebuild that trust in situations and institutions like the government in this case, because when that trust decreases, obviously this misinformation does become something that people believe in and become some people's truth. So, why birds aren't real matters as a conspiracy. And I like this little meme I got on the side because it actually uses bird pretty wisely in terms of what people assume the birds to be in terms of spies. So the birds aren't real movement, like I said, started as a joke, but did become something much bigger because misinformation can really take flight. And it really shows how deeply people crave that meaning in uncertain times. And it's a reminder that conspiracies aren't just about facts, they're actually about fear, they're about trust, and they're about identity. Because, like I said, lots of people just like to seem like they're unique. And that's why they believe in these things, because they're like, well, that's kind of a crazy idea. I'm going to believe it just so that I seem equally as crazy. I couldn't tell you. And so, in conclusion, Birds Aren't Real does remind us that conspiracy theories aren't just about misinformation. They're actually about the human mind searching for meaning in uncertainty. They thrive when people feel powerless or unheard, like in times when the government is making interesting decisions. And the real solution isn't anger or argument, it's actually empathy. Because when people feel powerless or unheard, we need to make sure that we're questioning them, and we need to make sure that we're discussing with them why that is. Education, critical thinking skills can help people understand why conspiracies like birds aren't real isn't real, but is it? I'm not sure. So, because when we replace judgment with understanding and confusion with curiosity, truth doesn't just survive, it soars through society like a bird. And that's the end of my presentation. I hope that it was interesting for you all because I know that I had a lot of fun looking into it.